Hello my fellow Neonatians, and welcome to our first Construct 3 devlog. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about something that I referenced in the previous video in the devlog, where I said I was going to do a tutorial on how to do snow and rain in Construct 3, and that is what we are going to do today. So if that sounds good to you, then let's get started. All right, so we have a project set up here, and what we're basically going to do is we're going to make two sprites. So one for the snow, one for the rain. And what I'm going to basically show you is how to make it look as close to actual snow and actual rain as possible. Because you probably know how to use the particle effect system, but this is basically using that in a more specific way, because there was a lot of little things that I learned in the devlog when I was making the game that helped me realize how you can actually do this correctly. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make the particle effects, we're gonna make the sprites. You don't have to copy this exactly. This is just very basic sprites that I'm gonna do, and then you can do whatever you want for your game. So let's do that. So we're just gonna open up the object creator, and we're going to click on particles, and we're gonna set this to be, let's just do 4x4. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna pick a color here. Just gonna go with like a bluish sort of thing. Actually, I'm gonna show you a little tip here. So you may know that the line tool has opacity and that the pencil tool doesn't, but you can actually give the pencil tool opacity if you use the color picker to pick the opacity of the line tool, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower the opacity on this, and we're gonna set it to that, okay? So you can see that there is opacity on that. Now, normally, this doesn't, right? There's no opacity slider or anything like that, right? So what we're gonna do is we're going to erase that, and then we're gonna pick this, and then we're gonna use that. See, now with the pencil tool, as you can see, it's selected, we're still getting that opacity. When you use the color picker, it doesn't just pick the actual color, like the RGB, it also picks the alpha, which is this right here, and that's essentially your opacity. So that's a nice little tip. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna use this, and we might just go with this sort of thing. You go like that, okay? So we're gonna take that, and we are going to zoom in a little bit. Okay, so we have it set up here. Now, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this to be 90 degrees, which should face it downwards like that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna change, this spray cone doesn't really matter, so I'm just gonna set it to 0 because it's kind of irrelevant in this example. So if you set it to 0, actually I have to log in, so I'm gonna log in real quick, and then we're gonna do that. So all right, so now we're logged in, and that's another important step. Remember to log in when you're using Construct. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna basically just go into here. As I said, we're gonna set it to 0, and you can see that it basically has no movement. It's just going straight down, which is pretty much what we want. It doesn't really matter technically. You could have it at 180, you could have it 360, because, well, I don't think it changes anything. I've never really tested it, but I think what we're gonna do with this is it's gonna override whatever the spray cone is, but I could be wrong. So, I'm not 100% sure about that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower the rate to like something like, I don't know, let's do 25 for now, so half of what it normally is. And then we're going to change the timeout to be something like, for this example, 5 seconds. You might need it to be longer than this, just to be clear, but yeah, 5 seconds basically. And we're gonna just remember, okay, so it's 4x4, so we need to set this to also be 4x4 like this. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn off this acceleration just for now until we can find a good spot. And we're just gonna keep checking on it to make sure it looks better. So as you can see right now, we're just getting a single stream, and that's fine. Like if this was like a faucet or something, that could maybe work, but we need this to work for rain. And this is the part that I learned when I was working on Neon John the First Light. You need to actually change the X randomizer. So what this basically does is if you get whatever range you give it, so I'm gonna say, let's say 20, it's gonna give you 20 pixels from the origin point on both sides, I believe, and it's gonna basically pick a random spot. So every single one is gonna spawn, every single one of the sprites is gonna spawn at a random spot on the X-axis. You can also do this on the Y-axis, but I don't really know what that would be used for, to be honest with you. So we're just gonna change the X. We're gonna set it to 20. Now, as you can see, that's not exactly giving us much of a difference, right? So we're gonna increase this even more. We're gonna do something like 100. That's a lot better, okay? And you can see how it's starting to already look a little bit like rain. And what we're gonna do is this. Obviously, this is not going to look perfect because the sprite is not great. If you're actually doing rain, one thing you could do is you could do a really high quality sprite. It depends on your game, right? If you don't care about all of your pixel sizes matching, you could do a really high resolution rain particle, and that would make this look a lot better. One of the issues with pixel art is it's just not really great for things like rain, because rain is such a small thing in the real world that having it make sense contextually within your game, if it's like a 32 by 32 tile size, is kind of difficult to do. So you might have to adjust your pixel scaling of this. So this size parameter is basically your scale, right? So you can scale what, even if your, let's say your sprite is like, I don't know, 4 by 4, like in this example, you could scale this to be like 1, for example, right? We can set this to 1, and now it's going to look a lot smaller, and it actually looks better, right? You can tell it looks better. I don't even know if you can honestly see that. The screen recording might not be able to see it, but it looks a little bit better. Let me set it to 2 so it's a little bit more visible. Okay, so that's a little bit better. See? So that's something to note with rain. With snow, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more, but with rain, you probably will end up having to change the pixel size. But it depends on your game. If you have a really high resolution game, so let's say 128 by 128, so if your game is that size, then you could probably get away with not having to have a different pixel size for your rain. But for this, I would definitely suggest that you adjust the size of it. So we're gonna leave it at 2 for now because it's actually looking pretty good. And I'm gonna change the X randomizer. Actually, you know what? The speed randomizer is fine. I might lower it a little bit to like 200, just so it looks a little bit more normal. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna just increase that X randomizer to 200, just so it's filling up this entire spot right here, so it looks a little bit better. And we're gonna increase the amount to about 40, so it looks a little bit more like it's a stronger rain, something like that. And then I think we're almost pretty much good here. What you can do is you could do a size randomizer, and this could add like fake depth so that it looks like there's rain droplets that are closer to the camera and rain droplets that are further away. You'll get varying degrees of quality with that, but we can try it for now. So let's do 10. As you can see, it could work, especially if this was in the background and like you're in an indoor area and there's like a window and you can almost make it look like there's like some depth in the background. That could be a potential use case for this. But for this specific example, we're just gonna leave it at 0. And then what else? Honestly, there's not much you can do with rain. So we're just gonna leave it like that. I think this looks pretty good. And if you had a better sprite, it would look even better, but this is about as good as you can get rain to look, pretty much. Rain is one of those things that's kind of difficult at a low resolution. If you had, like I said, if you can get away with it in your game having a high resolution sprite, that would probably give you the best results, honestly. So yeah, with that said, that's rain. Now let's move on to snow. So we'll go right here so you can compare it. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do the exact same thing. So we're gonna create a particle. This one, we're just gonna make really simple. So we're gonna make it a 4 by 4 again. And what we will do is we will go like this. So we're gonna zoom in and we're gonna turn off the opacity. So we're just gonna bring that all the way up here. This is taking a while. All right, okay, so got that. We're just gonna do something really basic and simple like that. That should be fine. Snow is a lot easier to get a more realistic effect because snow is a little bit bigger than rain, so it makes it make more sense, basically. All right, so we're gonna do the exact same thing that we did with the rain. We're just gonna turn off the preview, and we're gonna set the angle to 90, like that, and we're gonna set the spray cone to be 0 again, because you don't want it to look weird. And we're gonna leave it on continuous spray. We'll leave it the rate the same. Now we're going to kind of do what we did with the rain, and we're gonna change the speed to like 20 for now, because we don't want it to actually be going that fast. We're gonna set the size to be 4, and then we're going to turn off the acceleration, lower the speed randomizer to about 500, and we're gonna preview that, see how that looks. Okay, so we got sort of that similar effect to what we saw with the rain at the beginning. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna increase the timeout to be 10, because the speed of the snow is a lot slower than the rain. We're gonna need this timeout to be longer. So actually, we're gonna probably set it to like, I don't even know. Let's do 50 seconds. You probably won't have to do it that long, but we'll see. Okay, 10 should be fine for now. All right, so then what we're gonna do is we're going to change the x-axis, the x randomizer. So we're gonna do the same thing we did with the other one. So 100, and you can see it's already starting to look a little bit more like snow. Now, because we have the speed set so low, it's gonna cause some issues. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the acceleration to 100. That's gonna fix that. right? So acceleration and speed have a lot to do with each other. You need to make sure that they're both balanced so that you're achieving the effect that you actually want. Okay, so it's looking pretty good so far. What you can do with snow is I actually think that depth effect that I talked about with the rain works even better with snow. So let's try that. So let's change the size randomizer to be, let's do 6. We don't want it to be too ridiculous, just a little bit of a difference. We could also change, actually, you know what? We're gonna leave this size randomizer off for now. And we're going to adjust actually, first of all, let's change this X randomizer to be 150 so it fills up that space a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. And let's change the rate to be 30, make it a little bit more reasonable. Let's change the gravity to be 100. Okay, that looks good. We're gonna change the speed to be 10. We're gonna change the speed to be 5 because it's still going too fast. Let's do 50. Actually, let's do literally 2 on here. Speed, still going very fast. Let's do 40 on this. 10. There we go. That's a lot better. Then what we can do is we can then change the angle randomizer. This is what I was talking about in the previous video, where if you turn this on, it can actually give you that better snow effect. So we're going to set it to be 20. See how it gives it that just subtle swaying as if it's like being blown in the wind? Yeah, that's what you really want. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually lower that speed to be 1, and we're going to lower the gravity to be 20. And let's do the acceleration 30. Change the angle randomizer to be a little less extreme. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So there you go. That's your snow effect. You can tweak it even more to get it just to where you want it, but I think that looks pretty good for now. Let's just compare how they look side by side. So there you go. So this is your rain effect and this is your snow effect. Hopefully this video was helpful. If it was, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and remember, follow the light.